is a double bogey to start the season for Melbourne. A lot of platitudes over summer. We all held hands. We're feeling really good. Well, what we've seen is the start of the season 0-5, and it's the same problems all over again. 10 more inside 50s, 9 more centre clearances. They can't score more than 57 points. So it's an extraordinary situation. Will the leadership of the club ask Simon Goodwin how you're feeling? Do you still feel like you've got the support? Will they be the sorts of conversations that take place? Has it got to that time already or not?
I think those conversations are always happening, but clearly at 0-5, they're probably a bit more prevalent at the moment. That Melbourne just don't look like they've got any system, unfortunately. They look like they don't want to go anywhere near the corridor offensively. They did it for a tiny little patch in that third quarter and charged back, and we thought that maybe they were within a chance of getting back into the game and potentially getting in front. But at the moment, it's same old from Melbourne Football Club, and it's not getting the job done.
Well, look at these pictures now. I mean, this to me it's a devastated group. I mean, Max Gawn, he's an absolutely shattered man. I think this is powerful stuff because they know they've got the talent. They are playing below themselves. Gawn, Oliver, Petrarca, Pickett, May, Lever, Petty, Salem, Viney, Langdon, Jacob Van Rooyen.
We've just pulled up the whole list there.
Well, I've got a little list here, but these are very good, premiership players, the bulk of them. They know. Look at the pain on their faces.
This is what happens. And I reference our old mate Mark McClure. Bad teams meet, good teams train.
Yep.
There's a lot of this at Melbourne, a lot of conversations, a lot of words, and then it just breaks down. It finishes like this. Oh, yeah, what do we believe in? What do we really take forward out of these conversations? Do they become actions? Well, a lot of them are trying as hard as they can. A lot of them are. So I'm not here to have a go at their effort or their intent, but they're broken. They're broken in the way they play.
You can see it from those pictures that they're broken. They're broken in the way they play, but it looks like they're broken in spirit as well.
It's a big call, broken footy club.
Well, broken in the way they play and with the absolute buy-in. It's not at 100% because the Bombers put it to them tonight. I marvel at the way they were able to play so effectively with the patience that was required.
As impressive as it was for Essendon, I think the fallout to tonight is Melbourne. 0-5, the same sort of issues, inability to score. Again, 57. How often do we see Melbourne around that score at a full-time siren? I think they're averaging 62 points a game heading into tonight, and they've finished with 57 on the board. Are you struggling to see any light at the end of this tunnel?
Oh, look, for me, I'm looking at their forward line and they're just lacking cohesion. And I put myself in the shoes of when I was a young key forward, how hard it was. And Jacob Van Rooyen's one that comes to mind for mine. Like, he's had 7 possessions tonight, 6 of those have been in the ruck. So at the moment, he's a backup ruck rather than being a key forward. And unfortunately, he finds himself out the back too much. Now, I need him contesting and absolutely putting body on there and making that a soda of a mark. So at the moment, he's fighting for the back. He gives away free kicks in the ruck here, just taps it to the wrong spot and Essendon get a goal. So I feel like he's lost at the moment. I feel like they're playing maybe a little bit too much in a ruck now. I don't know why that is with Max Gawn, but here just going to ground too easily. These are signs as a key forward that you're out of form and you have no confidence. And at the moment, I think he is out of form and he has zero confidence with the way he's going about it. So it is a difficult position. He needs to be the man down there. He is their only key forward. At the moment, Harrison Petty went forward late, and Bailey Fritsch had a small patch tonight where he played well, but for me, Van Rooyen really needs to step up.
He's an exciting young talent, you're right. I mean, whether he's got the confidence anymore, I'm not sure, Jack. Is it time that Simon Goodwin makes a selection statement, Kingy? You know, until now, there's been some moves around the fringes, but nothing really significant. You talked about Jack Viney, last week. Is it time something comes at the selection table or not?
Oh, well, something's got to give. I mean, you just keep rolling on with the same setups, the same structures, the same players, and this is what you get. More
result.
of the same.
Yeah.
I think Melbourne fans are frustrated they can nearly write down the stats at the start of the night. We're going to win the clearances. We're going to not score from them. We're going to drive the ball inside 50. We're not going to score. We're going to go the same players all night, and we're going to get the same results. I think there's some frustration there with the Melbourne fans now. They're well and truly past the premiership era. That's no longer a conversation, but there are vulnerabilities now in this midfield that are being exposed every week. I just want to show a little bit of vision. So when you're not absolutely the beast you were at clearance and you're not dominating that area of the ground, defensively, you have to be on. You have to make sure that you're not the reason that you bleed. And look at this. This is two of the youngsters, Pickett and Windsor. Now, they just falling into bad habits with what they're seeing with the others. You tell me that you told Cossie Pickett this is a final, this is life and death. He's not going to give a better effort than that. That's really poor. Look at Clayton Oliver here. He's in a really good defensive position. He doesn't need to come in. But there's no trust that this midfield will be able to put pressure on. So they just roll in and give an out-the-front type release, which, again, goes straight inside 50 of the opposition, puts their defence under pressure they can't handle, and they score some stoppages by 3 goals again, despite the fact their best players are around the footy. Now, this is not the first time we've had this conversation. It's probably closer to the 30th. Something has to give at selection, or in the end you'll say to the coach, if you want to back these guys, coach, you'll back them to the end of your career. Now, is that this year? Is that next year? Who knows? But something has to change.
That says there that's a lack of care there to actually put your body on the line for your teammate. And the worrying sign out of that, King, is it's one of their best players or their oldest players in Clayton Oliver, who you see, and then one of their youngest players at Windsor. But leaders lead. So they're not setting the great example for the young kids coming through.
I could show 20 clearances tonight, and it's all of them, mate. It's Viney at times. I don't want to pick on Jack. He physically can't do it. He physically cannot clamp the player once he takes 3 steps. Now, that's not a slight on Jack. He's been an absolute warrior for this football club, and he's a Hall of Fame member for Melbourne, let's be honest. But it's Petrarca as well. It's Oliver every time. Pickett goes in there. I want to see Windsor in a centre bounces. You can't put him in a centre bounces if that's the sort of effort you get. So to turn the page is an easy statement to make, but those guys have got to be ready to pick up the slack and deliver.
It's tricky too with the admin in a bit of a state of flux. So you go broadly at the Melbourne Football Club. They got an interim CEO with David Chippendale there. So I think they've got to make that appointment by the end of April. And then Brad Green is the president for this year. I think Stephen Smith is the man that holds the power. Right, so he's on the board at the moment, and he's coming in replacing Green at the end of the season.
But can you see any change happening now? I'm not sure if anyone thinks change needs to occur.
Stephen Smith's going to be in the Mediterranean throughout the mid-season, and he's the most influential person.
That's why change isn't going to happen when there's an interim CEO and president.
It's a tricky time, isn't it, for those reasons? So whether they're just going to hold on and make do until significant change at the end of the season, I think that's a question for Simon Goodwin, because really he'll know, won't he? I mean, he'll know within himself where he's got the players and the support.
What change do you think needs to occur?
I'm with Kingy. I think with the team, something needs to change there, because really, who are the players who are going to win Melbourne's next premiership? It's Windsor, who you mentioned. It's Rivers. It's Sparrow. It's Langford. It's that next lot. It's not going to be Gawn and Petrarca and Oliver, or not on the evidence we've seen so far this year. So that baton's got to be passed, and how are they going to do that?
But I'm not putting Windsor in after tonight's performance around clearances.
Well, if that's the standards,
because you have the same problem just with a different age bracket. So you've got to meet minimum standard to be rewarded with midfield minutes. And that's a challenge for all players to try and aspire to be that level of player for your football club. But in the end, something will change. It's just a matter of at what point down the road. Now, this is a club that's screaming for a full, and everyone will say, oh, here we go again. But it's screaming for a complete investigation of sorts.
A review. A
review that goes deeper than most, that finds the problem. And the problem isn't love. The problem isn't are we united? Because I look at this football club and they're hollow words. Because when we see them on the weekend, I don't think love. I don't think unity. I don't think 100% buy-in.
There's no trust.
Well, it's a little bit hard when, as well, you were revealing pre-game, Jay, the situation around Christian Petrarca and his parents and them meeting the club for the first time only recently.
Yeah, they've certainly spoken in the past month. So whether that should have happened earlier, I think, is up for debate. Certainly, you go back to late last year after the internal injuries, there was some ill feeling there. So they certainly have had talks, and everyone's saying that they're on the same page together. But performances like this will test the relationship.
So you're saying they've just spoken now, in April?
In the past month, yeah.
When did that happen
In the past month, So what's happened for 8 months, 9 months?
I suspect there hasn't been a whole lot of conversation, and then I guess everyone's been on holidays. There was some ill feeling.
And hang on, everyone's been on holidays. He nearly lost his life, Jay.
I think the point is it's probably only happened more recently, and they're happy with how it all sits at the moment. But Jack, you did
You wonder why there's no trust on the field. Well, that's derelict of your duty to not have a conversation. No, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Your best player, and it doesn't matter if it's your best player, I shouldn't have even said that. A player of yours went to hospital and the club hasn't reached out to his family to explain what went on.
Well, it's happened sort of more recently from a personal level. So maybe there has been a bit of a chasm.
I find that fascinating that's the case.
Can I ask you about the Triple H? You did the Hardship Hero and Highlight, which brought together the Richmond Football Club on the back of 2016, and it led you to one of the most successful eras we've ever seen. And we heard about Bashar Hooley and other players breaking down and crying, and it brought you together. So if that was all genuine and legitimate, how is it different to what you're hearing out of Melbourne about a similar sort of attempted connection process?
Well, I just don't see the trust at the moment, and I'm not privy to what's happening inside the Melbourne Football Club for how they're trying to generate the culture and how they're trying to generate the love, as they would say.
It was massive for you guys.
It was big for us, but it's not going to work for everyone else, and I don't think it suits other clubs to try and fabricate what works for someone else, because clearly it's personal and it happens in those sort of situations, and that is what the trust is built off. Trust is the most important thing in any organisation, and at the moment what you've just said in terms of that was the first time they've reached out to Christian Petrarca's family after what happened last year, there's no trust there. Like, they would be waiting by their phone for the phone call to go, well, this is what happened with your son. So I find that I'm a bit speechless actually that that's the case.